I have never seen a movie get this much bad press in such a small amount of time. A movie that got 13 Oscar nominations in Emilia Perez continue to shoot itself in the foot. And a lot's happened since we last talked in my video, kind of outlining what happened with Carla Sofia Gascón, from the tweets to what was said to since then coming out and saying, certain things were taken out of context, trying to chalk it up as misinformation. But, at the end of the day, they were tweets that were tweeted. We saw them, read them. It shouldn't be enough to get that nomination revoked. But then the Fernanda Torres drama that we spoke of as well, that is something that kind of clearly goes against what the Oscars lay out in their rules and such. And so a lot of crazy things going down. Well, now I feel as if that drama has continued to escalate because Netflix has come out over the last 2 days and essentially distanced itself from the star of Emilia Perez, which is Emilia Perez. So Emilia Perez bad, but Emilia Perez good. So Netflix didn't really initially say anything about all of this, and not that it has to acknowledge these tweets, but it kind of has to acknowledge the controversy a little bit, especially since Carla Sofia Gascón, in a way, started to come after Fernanda Torres, at least the party of Fernanda Torres. And The Hollywood Reporter came out and stated yesterday that the two parties are now communicating through Gascon's agent, and it is to this person's understanding that there is no interest on the part of Netflix to provide the usual courtesies afforded by a studio to an Oscar contender, such as transportation and accommodations, to facilitate her attendance to this weekend's and from here on out's awards ceremony. So does that include the Oscars? I think that's a big question. Like, if Carla Sofia Gascón at this point attends the Oscars, I would be surprised. But for the studio that is in charge of this entire Oscar campaign, not providing these luxuries to kind of the main representative of the film, she is Emilia Perez. When's the last time something like that happened? That is kind of insane to me. This weekend alone, you've got the AFI Luncheon, you got the Critics' Choice, you got the PGA DGA combination on Saturday, and it looks like Gascón, who was set to attend this just a week ago, is no longer attending. Netflix is pulling that plug, and for that controversy to reach that level, again, for a movie that I think was kind of being trashed anyway, we'll discuss that here in just a second, is shocking, stunning, and frankly, it's so much drama surrounding this movie, drama that I don't think anyone was expecting. THR also states that Gascón has already been removed from email blasts and ad reads promoting the film for awards, and some billboards that now feature images of Gascón will soon highlight other cast members in addition to her, or exclusively those other cast members. Awkwardly enough, and I don't know if people thought about it this way, but Critics' Choice Awards voting, it happened a while ago. I voted weeks and weeks ago initially before it was moved because of the LA fire. So if Emilia Perez was going to win an award, it won the award regardless. Now, I'm not saying it was going to do great at Critics' Choice because I never believed that it did, but, best song, and maybe Zoe gets that Oscar, and to go up there in front of a microphone while all this is happening, while Gascón is not in attendance, is fascinating. Now we transition into the newest pieces of drama surrounding Emilia Perez, because that wasn't enough. What we've already discussed was not enough for Emilia Perez, because this film has to keep on trucking with the controversy. First of all, our director, and that's where I really want to hit over the next few minutes, is Jacques Audiard, saying, when asked about the film's star, Carla Sofia Gascón, saying, "I haven't spoken to her, and I don't want to. She is in a self-destructive approach that I can't interfere with, and I really don't understand why she's continuing. Why is she harming herself? Why? I just don't understand it. And what I don't understand about this, too, is why she's harming people who were very close to her." I'm thinking in this thing of how hurting others, she's hurting the crew and all the people who've worked so incredibly hard on this film. I'm thinking of myself. I'm thinking of Zoe and Selena. I'm not getting in touch with her right now because she needs the space to reflect and take accountability for her own actions. What a statement by the director, essentially coming out and saying, I'm not talking to her because I don't want to. The film's star, in the midst of a 13 Oscar nomination run, a movie that actually, as crazy as it is, and I feel like I'm living in Looney Town, it had a chance at Best Picture. All of that is coming down in flames because of the movie's star, but also because the director is saying, I don't want to talk to her. Now, this is fascinating because normally a director will come out in defense of his or her actors. I won't say regardless of the controversy, but if there is controversy, I think there's a different way to word this and go about it. But Jacques basically said, I don't want anything to do with this right now. I'm focused on getting this movie the awards that it's now probably not going to win, and I want to put some distance between myself and Gascón. And that is another decision where I'm like, man, if it couldn't have gotten any worse for this movie, for these things continuing to come out now revolving around the director, and you say to yourself, well, Austin, that's not that bad if the director doesn't want to have anything to do with it. Well, that wasn't all the director said today. Jacques did a Q&A with Deadline, who asked a handful of questions regarding this controversy, but also regarding the criticism that a lot of people have with this movie. Specifically, coming from Mexico, some have objected to the depiction of the cartels and their victims. What are these critics missing in your intent in making this musical? And he proceeds to say, what shocked me is that people either haven't seen the film properly, okay, or they haven't seen it at all right, and are acting in bad faith. The representation of the cartels in the film is thematic. It's not something that I'm particularly focused on in the film. That was obvious. There's one scene that deals with it. The real thing that I'm interested in, that I was interested in doing, is I wanted to make an opera. I think the word soap is missing there, a soap opera, because that's what the movie was, that demands a strong stylization. Yada, yada, yada. It seems I'm being attacked in the court of realism. Well, I never claimed that I wanted to make a realistic work. Now, to that degree, I kind of understand what he's talking about. I don't like it when people often look at movies that aren't meant to be taken in a certain light, and then they start to judge it in that light, right? Like, oh, of course, that Bridgerton, when Bridgerton first came out, and people are like, oh, that wouldn't have happened in that time, but Bridgerton is clearly a fairy tale. Bridgerton is also something that's not being overly offensive within how it's conducting itself. I feel like that may be how Emilia Perez operates, to be honest with you, and I feel like the fault lies within not properly striking that balance, the balance that you obviously intended to capture of, oh, okay, well, we can turn our brains off and understand that this isn't real. But using this setting and this location and this story and overall something that could very easily come across in that way to where even I, as someone on the outside looking in, can look at those criticisms and say, no, I understand what they are saying. But beyond that, like, if the movie was great, and I always say this, a movie being good is usually good enough to overcome potential controversy if it's handled or executed in the right way. That's all it takes, is for quality work to be obviously quality. That's all it takes, and people wouldn't have had these issues. Well, if you have a film that is so tonally up and down, that has a poor script, that has poor characters, so on and so forth, but then also has these offensive elements and things to where you as the director may see it as more of a fairy tale, like obviously this doesn't have to be real. He even says it in this quote. For example, I read a review where it said that night markets in Mexico City don't have photocopiers. Well, in night markets in Mexico City, one also doesn't sing and dance. You have to accept that that is part of the magic here. This is an opera, not a criticism of anything in Mexico. Okay, so clearly you're going for a movie that is supposed to be out of the realm of reality. And I even tell my wife that a lot of the times while we're watching a movie, like, okay, suspension of disbelief. But the question always is, does the movie properly convey that? I don't believe Emilia Perez conveys that. Clearly, our director does. But for the director to come out and say, what shocked me is that people either haven't seen the film properly or they haven't seen it at all, is essentially the director calling out the audience and saying, you're watching my movie wrong. Let me repeat that. You're watching my movie wrong. Here's the thing, pal. The audience is not watching your movie wrong. The audience is choosing to interpret it in the way that they believe it is conveyed. And within that, there is going to be disagreement, as there is with every movie. How do you perceive that reality that is, according to him, something that's not supposed to be based in our reality? Are you perceiving it as he intends it, or are you perceiving it as something that is supposed to be a little more grounded? Well, the majority of people online, user scores, audience scores, people everywhere, as you all know, are choosing to perceive it in a way that negatively affects the experience. And I'm sorry, but that's the majority, the overwhelming majority. I'm not talking about in the industry, because the industry clearly likes your movie, or they like the message of your movie, maybe not the movie itself. But to call out the audience and say, you haven't seen it properly? Like, I have seen the film twice. I still believe it's a tonal disaster. I still believe the dialogue is atrocious at times. But I guess I'm not watching the movie properly. And I understand he was responding to that specific question. But I get it. We get it. It's not supposed to be grounded in reality, but that doesn't make it good. And so what has come out of the last 2 days for me, the biggest piece of news is that the director is now negatively impacting this movie, saying, well, the audience just isn't watching it right. What? You have Hollywood filmmakers, directors coming out and supporting your movie. Like, clearly some people are watching it right. But the rest of us, we're just not responding to the way that you're presenting it. And so I know this doesn't have anything to do with Carla Sofia Gascón, but for him to say that is, I'm sorry, that is a delusional take. That's delusional. I get you're proud of your work. I understand we all want people to like our work, but not everyone likes it. You've got to accept that as reality, a reality that we are living in, pal, and he's clearly not. And so just another piece of news that's coming out negatively impacting a movie that got so many nominations for some strange reason. He says the reactions have changed, and that we initially had a lot of favorable reactions, people who were curious to see the film, people who were very happy to have seen the film, and then at a certain point, it started to get criticized a lot, condemned. And there it is again, who may very well not have seen the film. And again, I'm going to try to defend him. There have been people that have gotten on Letterboxd and IMDb and have review bombed this movie, okay? There's no denying that. When a movie gets so much hate and we get these clips that start to release, the penis to vagina song, people are going to see that. They're going to go spam 1 star on IMDb. I agree with him. That is ridiculous. But that is such a vast minority, a small group of people, the 1 or 2 percentile, that I just don't think that is something that should be discussed in this type of interview. So to say, condemned by people who may very well not have seen the film, that is a small group of people. Everyone else, we've seen the movie. We watched it. Unfortunately, we watched it. We just don't agree. Look, this movie, I have never seen anything like this. Such a large amount of bad press over the span of 1 week. I mean, just 2 weeks ago, like I said in my last video, this movie was riding the highest of highs in terms of nominations and industry love. And audience members just continue to watch it and bash it and not understand why it's nominated. But at the end of the day, you have a film that is tearing itself down from the inside. Carla Sofia Gascón, the director, now calling out the audience for not watching it correctly, and a movie that had every chance in the world to win Best Picture just a couple of weeks ago is now, it's an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle that I don't know it's going to be able to climb. And I think this is taking away numerous wins, not just Best Picture. I believe International Feature, which was a lock a few weeks back, is now up for debate, because I'm Still Here, a little movie that I also just talked about on this channel, is coming on strong. Very strong. I still think Zoe has a good shot. I still think it has a shot to win Best Song. Everything else, it's in trouble. And this amount of drama. So, look, there's obviously a little more happening. If you all want to talk about it in the comments down below, what did I miss? But also, how do you feel about what this director had to say? Whether it be, did we take things out of context? Did we misconstruct his words? I mean, I was able to find exactly what he said, and it's hard to see how he meant it. And again, I understand he's defending his movie, but to say it like that, in that way, so condescendingly, is that a word? Condescendingly? It just feels like they're going about all of this in the wrong way. And this Gascón stuff is just insane. So I'm curious to see how it continues to be handled. If you guys like these updates, again, we've done 2 videos now on Emilia Perez, one on I'm Still Here, kind of the Oscar season buzz and drama. Please let me know by dropping a like on this video. Again, if we get enough, we'll continue to monitor this situation and, of course, monitor all of the awards this weekend. Boy, oh boy, lots of drama. And we're not done. We got Critics' Choice, PGA, DGA, Oscar season. We're in the thick of it. We're in the midst of it. And the awards are right around the corner. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Got some reviews coming this weekend. And, of course, covering the awards ceremonies.